The stars had watched Earth for a very long time. Alien eyes had studied the small blue planet from distant stations, recording everything. They watched humans discover fire. They watched humans build cities. They watched humans kill each other in endless wars. And through all of it, the aliens felt only one thing: pity. When humanity finally built ships that could travel between stars in the year 2347, the Galactic Council was not impressed. They had seen hundreds of species rise from their home worlds. Humans were nothing special. In fact, humans were less than nothing. They were small. They were soft. They broke easily. The Council allowed them to send a representative only because it was the law. Every species that achieved star travel had the right to speak before the Council, even the weak ones. Commander Park Tae-woo stood in the center of the Great Chamber on Station Orbital Prime. The room was enormous. It could hold 10,000 beings, and today it held representatives from 12 of the most powerful species in the galaxy. They sat in floating platforms that circled around him, looking down at the small human in his simple gray uniform. Tae-woo was 43 years old. He had black hair with some gray at the sides. His face was calm and showed no emotion. Behind him stood 3 other humans: Lieutenant Kim Hana, a woman with sharp eyes and short hair; Sergeant Oh Sung-ho, a large man with scars on his hands; and Medical Officer Choi Yuna, a young woman who watched everything with quiet attention. 4 humans. That was all Earth had sent. The aliens found this amusing. The High Speaker of the Council was a Morkan named Drekhal. The Morkan were giants. Drekhal stood 3 meters tall, with skin like gray stone and muscles that could crush metal. His voice was deep like thunder when he spoke. "The humans of Earth have requested membership in the Galactic Military Alliance," Drekhal announced. "Their application has been reviewed by all 12 member species." A sound moved through the chamber. It was laughter. Soft at first, then louder. The aliens were laughing at the humans. A Velthari delegate spoke. The Velthari had 4 arms and hard shells covering their bodies like armor. "The humans wish to fight beside us? Look at them. They have only 2 arms. Their skin is like paper. A child of my species could break their bones." More laughter. A Luneth delegate joined in. The Luneth were tall and thin, with huge black eyes that could see heat, light, radiation, and a dozen other things humans could not. They require sleep for 8 hours every day. 8 hours, while they lie unconscious. Wars are won and lost. What use are soldiers who must rest like infants? The laughter grew louder. A Kreeth delegate, a creature with 6 legs and poison in its claws, made a clicking sound of amusement. "Their bones break. Their blood spills easily. They cannot regrow limbs. If a human loses an arm, it is gone forever. How can such a fragile species hope to survive real combat?" Tae-woo stood perfectly still through all of this. His face did not change. His crew behind him remained equally calm. They had expected this. Earth had prepared them for exactly this kind of welcome. High Speaker Drekhal raised one massive hand, and the chamber fell silent. He looked down at Tae-woo with eyes that held no respect, only mild curiosity. "Human," Drekhal said, "you have heard the concerns of this council. Your species is physically inferior to every member of the Alliance. Your lifespans are short, your bodies are weak. You have no natural weapons, no armor, no special abilities. Why should we accept you?" Tae-woo looked up at the giant alien. When he spoke, his voice was steady and clear. "Because you have not seen us fight." The chamber fell silent. The aliens looked at each other in confusion. Was this small creature serious? Drekhal leaned forward. "We have observed your species for centuries. We have watched your wars. You kill each other with great enthusiasm. This is true. But killing other humans is not impressive. You are all equally weak. Then test us." Tae-woo said simply. "Give us a mission. A trial by combat. If we fail, Earth will withdraw its application and never bother the Council again." If we succeed, you grant us full membership in the Alliance. The aliens began talking among themselves. The idea was amusing to them. A test? Why not? It would be entertaining to watch the humans fail, and it would teach Earth a lesson about knowing its place in the galaxy. Drekal smiled. It was not a kind smile. Very well, human. We accept your proposal. He pressed a button on his platform, and a holographic image appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a space station, dark and damaged, floating near a red star. This is Station Cora 7, Drekal said. 6 months ago, it was captured by the Dravek horde. A murmur went through the chamber. Even the aliens seemed uncomfortable at the mention of the Dravek. The Dravek are hunters, Drekal continued. They live only to kill. They feel no fear. They show no mercy. They have claws that can cut through battle armor. They can see in complete darkness. They are faster than any species in this chamber. The holographic image changed to show the Dravek. They were nightmares given flesh. Tall, thin bodies covered in black scales, long arms ending in curved claws, faces with no eyes, only rows of sharp teeth. There are over 2,000 Dravek on Cora 7, Drekal said. We have sent 3 assault forces to reclaim the station. The first had 500 Morkan warriors. The second had 800 Velthari soldiers. The third was a combined force of 1,000 fighters from 4 species. He paused. None of them returned. The chamber was completely silent now. The aliens were watching Taewoo carefully, waiting to see fear on his face, waiting to see him back down. Taewoo looked at the image of the Dravek. He studied their claws, their teeth, their hunting posture. Then he turned back to the high speaker. How many soldiers may we bring? He asked. Drekal blinked. The human was not afraid. This was unexpected. Bring as many as you wish, Drekal said. Taewoo nodded. Earth will send 40 soldiers. The chamber exploded with noise. 40? Against 2,000 Dravek? The aliens could not believe what they were hearing. This was not bravery. This was insanity. 40? Drekal repeated. Human, did you not hear me? We lost hundreds of our best warriors. And you wish to send 40? 40 is enough, Taewoo said. Lieutenant Hana stepped forward to stand beside her commander. We do not need more. Sergeant Seung Ho cracked his knuckles. More would just get in the way. Medical Officer Yuna simply smiled. The aliens did not know what to make of this. They had expected the humans to refuse. They had expected fear, excuses, a humble retreat. Instead, the humans were acting like the mission was already won. High Speaker Drekal stared at Taewoo for a long moment. Then he laughed. It was a deep, booming laugh that echoed through the chamber. Very well, human. Take your 40 soldiers to Cora 7. Die with honor. If your species understands such a thing. When you fail, at least you will provide entertainment. The other aliens joined in the laughter. The sound filled the chamber, drowning out everything else. Taewoo did not laugh. He simply bowed slightly to the council. Thank you for this opportunity, he said. We will return. As he turned to leave with his crew, he heard Drekal call out one last time. Human, what makes you think you can succeed where so many others have failed? Taewoo stopped at the door. He did not turn around. His voice was calm when he answered, because the Dravek have never fought humans before, and they do not know what that means. Then he walked out of the chamber, his crew following behind him. The door closed, cutting off the sound of alien laughter. In the hallway, Lieutenant Hana walked beside her commander. They think we are fools, she said quietly. Let them think what they want, Taewoo replied. In a few weeks, they will learn the truth. And what is the truth, sir? Taewoo smiled. It was a cold smile, the smile of a predator. The truth is that humans are the most dangerous thing the universe has ever created. We just hide it well. They walked toward their ship in silence. Behind them, the Galactic Council continued to laugh. They had no idea what was coming. They had no idea that they had just made the worst mistake in the history of the galaxy. They had given humans a reason to show their true nature, and the cosmos would never be the same again. The human ship Sejong moved through space like a shadow. It was not a large ship. It was not a beautiful ship. It was built for one purpose only: to carry soldiers into battle and bring them home again. The metal walls were thick and strong. The engines were quiet and fast. Everything about the ship said the same thing: "We are here to fight." Commander Taewoo stood at the front of the briefing room. Before him sat 40 soldiers, the best that Earth had to offer. They wore simple gray uniforms. Their faces were calm and focused. Each one of them had volunteered for this mission. Each one of them knew they might not come back. A holographic image of Station Cora 7 floated in the air above them. It was a massive structure, with hundreds of rooms and corridors. The perfect place for an ambush. The perfect place to die. "This is our target," Taewoo said. "The station has been under Dravek control for 6 months. Our mission is simple: kill the enemy and take back the station." Sergeant Lee Kangmin raised his hand. He was a young man, only 28 years old, but his eyes were old. He had seen combat before. He knew what death looked like. "Sir," the council said, "there are over 2,000 Dravek inside. That is 50 enemies for each one of us. How are we supposed to win?" It was a fair question. A reasonable question. Any other species in the galaxy would have called this mission suicide. But Taewoo just smiled. "The council thinks we are weak," he said. "They think we are soft and fragile. They have studied our bodies, measured our strength, counted our weaknesses, and based on all of that, they have decided that we will fail." He paused. "They are wrong." Lieutenant Hana stood up and walked to the holographic display. She pressed a button, and new information appeared. It showed biological data on different alien species. "Let me show you something," she said. "This is how different species respond to pain." The display showed a Morcon. When a Morcon is badly injured, its body enters a state of temporary paralysis. The muscles lock up, the mind goes blank. This is a healing response. It forces the body to stop moving so it can repair itself. She changed the display to show a Velthari. When a Velthari is wounded, its nervous system shuts down the damaged area. If a Velthari loses an arm, it stops feeling anything in that arm. The arm becomes dead weight. This prevents pain from affecting performance. She changed it again to show a Dravek. When a Dravek feels pain, it retreats. Pain tells the Dravek that it is in danger, and the Dravek runs away to hunt another day. This is instinct. The Dravek cannot control it. Then she showed a human body. "Now look at humans," she said. "When a human is badly injured, something very different happens. The human body releases chemicals called adrenaline and endorphins. These chemicals do not make the pain go away. They do not force the body to rest. Instead, they make the human faster, stronger, more aggressive." Medical Officer Yuna stood up to continue. She was small and quiet, but when she spoke, everyone listened. "I have treated human soldiers with injuries that should have killed them," she said. "Broken bones, missing limbs, holes in their bodies. And do you know what those soldiers did? They kept fighting. Not because they did not feel pain. They felt everything. They just did not care." She looked at the soldiers in the room. "The human body is designed to ignore damage in times of danger. Our ancestors faced predators bigger and stronger than themselves. They could not run. They could not hide, so they evolved to keep fighting no matter what. We call this state many things: shock, adrenaline rush, survival instinct. But it all means the same thing." She paused. "A human with nothing left to lose is the most dangerous creature in the universe." Sergeant Kang Min nodded slowly. "So we feel the pain, but we fight through it." "More than that," Yuna said. "When you hurt us, we do not slow down. We speed up. When you wound us, we do not retreat. We attack harder. The Dravek are used to enemies who run when they are hurt. They have never faced an enemy who becomes more dangerous when wounded. Private Zhang Dejun, a young man barely 20 years old, raised his hand. But sir, we are still outnumbered. Pain tolerance is good, but it cannot stop claws from cutting us apart. Tae-woo nodded. You are right. In a straight fight, one-on-one, a Dravik would kill most of us. They are faster. They have natural weapons. Their senses are better than ours. He smiled. So we will not fight a straight fight. He pulled up a new image on the display. It showed the interior of the station, with lines and arrows marking different paths. The Dravik are hunters, Tae-woo said. They think like hunters. They expect their prey to run. They expect their prey to hide. They expect to chase and catch and kill. He pointed at the image. We will not run. We will not hide. We will attack from every direction at once. We will use smoke to blind them. We will use sound to confuse them. We will set traps in every corridor. We will turn the station into a nightmare. Corporal Baek Sora, a woman with steady hands and cold eyes, leaned forward. Guerrilla tactics. Exactly, Tae-woo said. The Dravik have fought armies. They have never fought humans. They do not know that we invented 1,000 ways to kill things bigger and stronger than us. They do not know that our entire history is filled with small groups defeating large armies through tricks and traps and pure stubborn refusal to die. He looked at his soldiers. On Earth, we have a saying. It is not the size of the dog in the fight. It is the size of the fight in the dog. The soldiers nodded. They understood. Seung-ho, the weapons specialist, stood up. He was a big man, tall and broad, with hands that could crush stone. But it was not his strength that made him valuable. It was his mind. I have prepared special equipment for this mission, he said. Smoke grenades that will blind Dravik senses. Sound devices that will cause confusion. Traps that will slow them down and separate them from each other. He held up a small knife. And these, simple blades, the Dravik expect guns and energy weapons. They do not expect us to get close. They do not expect us to fight them with our hands. Private Dae-jun looked nervous. Get close? To those things? Yes, Seung-ho said, because that is what humans do. We do not stand back and fight safely. We get close. We get bloody. We make it personal. Tae-woo stepped forward again. I will not lie to you. Some of us will die on this mission. Maybe many of us. But I promise you this. For every human that falls, 100 Dravik will fall first. He looked at each soldier in turn. We are not fighting to survive. We are fighting to prove something. To show the galaxy what humans really are. Every species out there thinks we are weak because they measure strength in the wrong way. They count muscles and claws and armor. His voice grew hard. They do not count will. They do not count spite. They do not count the ability to look death in the eye and say, not today. Corporal Sora stood up. There was fire in her eyes. Sir, when do we start? We reach Korra, 7 inches 14 hours, Tae-woo said. Rest while you can. Eat well. Write letters to your families if you wish. And when we arrive, we show the universe why humans are not to be pitied. The soldiers stood as one. There was no fear in the room. Only determination. Only anger. Only the cold, quiet fury of a species that had spent its entire existence being underestimated. As the soldiers filed out to prepare, Lieutenant Hana walked beside Tae-woo. Do you really believe we can win? She asked quietly. Tae-woo looked out the window at the stars. The Dravik have never lost a battle, he said. They have never faced an enemy that refused to break. In their entire history, they have never met a species that looked at impossible odds and smiled. He turned to face her. They are about to meet humanity. And after tonight, the word impossible will mean something very different to them. Hana nodded slowly. Then, let us teach them. Yes, Tae-woo said. Let us show them what happens when you back humans into a corner. Let us show them why our ancestors killed every other predator on our planet. Let us show them why we are still here, still fighting, after 100,000 years. He clenched his fist. The Dravik think they are the hunters. They are about to learn that they are the prey. The Sejong flew on through the darkness of space. Inside, 40 humans prepared for war. They checked their weapons. They reviewed the plans. They wrote final messages to loved ones far away, and not one of them considered surrender. Not one of them thought about running. Because that was not what humans did. Humans fought. Humans bled. Humans died. But they never, ever gave up. The Dravik were waiting on Korra 7. 2,000 killers with claws and teeth and centuries of victory behind them. They had destroyed armies. They had broken empires. They feared nothing. In 14 hours, they would learn fear for the first time. In 14 hours, they would meet humanity. Station Korra 7 floated in the darkness like a dead thing. No lights showed in its windows. No signals came from its communication arrays. It looked empty. But it was not empty. Inside, 2,000 Dravik waited in the dark. They needed no light to see. They needed no sound to hear. They were perfect hunters. And this station was their hunting ground. The Sejong approached slowly, its engines barely making a sound. Commander Tae-woo stood on the bridge, watching the station grow larger on the screen. Behind him, his soldiers were ready. They wore black armor and carried weapons in their hands. Their faces were painted dark. They looked like ghosts. "Remember the plan," Tae-woo said through the communication system. 8 teams. 8 entry points. We hit them from every direction at once. Make them confused. Make them afraid. And whatever happens, do not stop moving. The soldiers responded with silence. They did not need words. They knew what to do. The ship docked at the main port. The doors opened, and 40 humans stepped into hell. Team 1 was led by Tae-woo himself. They entered through the main corridor, moving fast and quiet. The station was dark, but they expected that. They wore special glasses that let them see in the darkness. Not as well as the Dravik could see, but well enough. They had gone perhaps 100 meters when they found the first sign of the enemy. Bodies. Alien bodies. Torn apart and left to rot. These were the remains of the previous assault forces. The Morkan, the Velthari, others that Tae-woo did not recognize. The Dravik had killed them all and left them here as a warning. Tae-woo stepped over the bodies without slowing down. "Keep moving," he whispered. Team 2 entered through the engineering section. Corporal Sora led them through narrow passages filled with pipes and machines. She moved like a shadow, her knife in one hand and a gun in the other. Her team followed close behind. They heard the Dravik before they saw them. Clicking sounds. Breathing sounds. The Dravik were communicating with each other. Not knowing that humans were already inside, Sora held up her fist. Her team stopped. She pointed to a large room ahead. Through the doorway, she could see shapes moving. Dravik. At least 20 of them. She smiled. She pulled a smoke grenade from her belt and threw it into the room. The grenade exploded with a soft pop, and thick white smoke filled the space. The Dravik made confused sounds. Their heat vision was useless. Their hearing was overwhelmed by the hissing of the smoke. Then Sora and her team attacked. The fighting was fast and brutal. Sora shot the first Dravik through the head. The second one came at her with its claws raised, and she dropped under its swing and put her knife into its chest. Behind her, her team was doing the same. Guns fired. Blades cut. Dravik screamed. One of the creatures caught Private Moon Jin-ho across the arm. Its claws cut through his armor and into his flesh. Blood sprayed. Jin-ho did not scream. He did not fall back. Instead, he grabbed the Dravik by its throat and shot it in the face at point-blank range. "I am fine," he said, his voice tight with pain. They cleared the room in less than 3 minutes. 20 Dravik dead. 1 human wounded. And the battle had just begun. All across the station, Similar scenes were happening. Team 3 triggered a trap that collapsed a ceiling on a group of Dravik. Team 4 used sound devices to drive the creatures into prepared kill zones. Team 5 fought a running battle through the residential section, leaving bodies behind them at every turn. The Dravik were fast. They were strong. Their claws could cut through armor, but they had never faced anything like this. The humans did not fight like other species. They did not form lines and advance carefully. They did not retreat when wounded. They attacked like wild animals, coming from everywhere at once, striking and disappearing, and striking again. In the command center, the Dravik leader tried to understand what was happening. Reports came in from all over the station. Humans here. Humans there. Explosions. Smoke. Screams. It made no sense. There were supposed to be only 40 of them. How could 40 creatures cause this much chaos? Then the lights went out. Sergeant Seung-ho had found the power station. He planted charges on the main generators and blew them up. The station went dark. Now the humans had the advantage they needed. The Dravik could see in darkness, yes, but the smoke grenades blinded them. The sound devices confused them. And in the chaos, the humans struck. Private Daejun fought in the darkness like he was born for it. He moved through corridors that were filled with smoke and screaming. A Dravik came at him from the left, and he shot it without slowing down. Another came from above, dropping from a ceiling vent, and he rolled under its attack and put 2 bullets into its back. Then one of them got him. A claw went through his shoulder, tearing through muscle and scraping against bone. The pain was incredible. Daejun felt it explode through his body like fire, but he did not stop. He turned, grabbed the Dravik by its arm, and pulled it toward him. The creature was surprised. Prey did not do this. Prey ran. Prey screamed. Prey did not pull its attacker closer. Daejun put his gun against the Dravik's chest and fired until the creature stopped moving. Then he pulled the claw out of his shoulder, wrapped a bandage around the wound with one hand, and kept fighting. In the medical bay, Corporal Sora found herself surrounded. 5 Dravik circled her, their claws clicking against the floor. She had run out of bullets. All she had left was her knife. "Come on then," she said. Her voice was calm. "Let us see what you have." They attacked together. Sora ducked under the first strike, cut the leg of the second attacker, rolled away from the third, and came up stabbing. The knife went into a Dravik's throat. She pulled it out and threw herself at the next one. She killed 3 of them before the other 2 got her. Claws raked across her back, cutting deep. She fell to one knee. Blood ran down her spine, but she did not give up. She grabbed the leg of the nearest Dravik and pulled it down. It fell on top of her, and she drove her knife into its eye. The last one stood over her, claws raised for the killing blow. Then Sergeant Kang Min appeared in the doorway and shot it in the head. "Can you walk?" he asked, pulling Sora to her feet. "I can do more than walk," she said through clenched teeth. "Give me a gun." He gave her a gun. Together, they continued fighting. Hours passed. The station became a slaughterhouse. Bodies lay everywhere, mostly Dravik, but some human too. The corridors were slippery with blood. The air smelled like death. But the humans did not stop. Could not stop. Every time the Dravik thought they had killed one, another appeared. Every time they cornered a team, the team fought its way out. The creatures could not understand it. These small, soft, fragile beings refused to die. In the 6th hour of battle, something changed. The Dravik began to retreat. Commander Tae-woo noticed it first. The creatures were pulling back, grouping together in the central hub of the station. They were not attacking anymore. They were defending. "They are scared," Lieutenant Hana said, her voice filled with wonder. "The Dravik are actually scared." Tae-woo nodded. His uniform was torn and bloody. He had a cut across his face and broken ribs that screamed with every breath. He did not care. "Push them," he ordered. "Do not let them rest. Do not let them think. We finish this now." The humans attacked the central hub like a wave. They came from every direction. firing and stabbing and screaming war cries in Korean. The Dravik fought back desperately, but the humans would not stop coming. By the 12th hour, it was over. The last Dravik tried to run. It headed for the escape pods, moving faster than anything human could match. But Sergeant Sung Ho had already blocked the pods. There was nowhere to go. The creature turned to face its pursuers. 50 humans surrounded it. They were wounded, bloody, exhausted. Some of them could barely stand. But they were still there. Still fighting. The Dravik made a sound that might have been a question. It did not understand. Its species had never lost. Never. They were the greatest hunters in the galaxy. How could these weak, fragile creatures defeat them? Tae-woo stepped forward. He looked at the Dravik with eyes that held no mercy. "You made a mistake," he said. "You thought we were prey." He raised his weapon. "We are not prey. We never were. We are the thing that hunted the hunters. We are the nightmare that other nightmares fear." He fired. The last Dravik fell. Station Cora 7 was silent. The battle was over. The humans had won. Tae-woo looked around at his soldiers. 40 had come. 29 still stood. 11 had fallen, giving their lives so that the others could fight on. "Send a message to the Galactic Council," Tae-woo said, his voice tired but proud. "Tell them Cora 7 has been reclaimed. Tell them the humans are coming home." He paused. "And tell them we are ready for whatever comes next." The message went out across the stars. And throughout the galaxy, species that had laughed at humanity fell silent. Something had changed. Something important. The weaklings of Earth had done the impossible, and the cosmos would never underestimate them again. The great chamber of the Galactic Council had never been so quiet. Every seat was filled. Every eye was fixed on the holographic display in the center of the room. The display showed numbers. Simple numbers. But those numbers had shaken the foundations of everything the galaxy believed. Station Cora 7. Reclaimed. Human soldiers deployed. 40. Human casualties. 11 dead, 18 wounded. Dravik casualties. 847 dead, remainder fled. High Speaker Drekul stared at the numbers. His massive hands gripped the edges of his platform so tightly that the metal bent under his fingers. This was impossible. It had to be impossible. The Morcon had sent 500 of their best warriors to that station. They had all died. The Velthari had sent 800. They had all died. A combined force of 1,000 had tried next. They had all died. And 40 humans had succeeded. "There must be an error," a Velthari delegate said. His voice was uncertain, shaking. "The humans must have had help. Secret weapons. Something." "There was no help," Drekul said. His voice was low and heavy. "We monitored the entire battle. We saw everything. They did it alone." The chamber erupted in noise. Aliens shouted at each other. Some demanded explanations. Others insisted the recordings must be fake. A few sat in complete silence, their faces showing something that looked very much like fear. Then the doors of the chamber opened. Commander Tae-woo walked in. Behind him came the survivors of Cora 7, 29 humans, many of them still showing their wounds. They wore their damaged armor like badges of honor. They carried themselves with quiet pride. The chamber fell silent as they approached the center platform. Tae-woo looked around at the assembled aliens. These were the creatures who had laughed at humanity, who had called them weak and fragile and useless, who had sent them to die on a suicide mission. He smiled. "High Speaker," he said, "we have completed the mission. Cora 7 is secured. The Dravik have been defeated." Drekul leaned forward. His eyes burned with a mixture of anger and confusion. "How?" he demanded. "Your species is inferior. Your bodies are weak. Your lifespans are short. How did you defeat a force that destroyed thousands of our warriors?" Tae-woo did not answer immediately. He looked at each alien species in turn. The Morcan with their massive bodies. The Velthari with their 4 arms and natural armor. The Luneth with their perfect senses. the Kreth with their poison claws. All of them were stronger than humans, faster, more naturally gifted for combat, and all of them had failed where humans had succeeded. You measure strength incorrectly, Tae-woo said finally. You look at bodies. You count muscles and claws and armor. You see that we have none of these things, and you decide that we are weak. He stepped forward. But strength is not just about what a body can do. It is about what a mind will do. And in that measurement, humans have no equal. Lieutenant Hana walked forward to stand beside her commander. She pulled up a holographic display showing human biology. Let me explain what you do not understand, she said. Every species in this chamber evolved with advantages. The Morkan evolved strength because their homeworld has heavy gravity. The Velthari evolved armor because their planet had dangerous predators. The Luneth evolved their senses because their world was dark. She changed the display. Humans evolved with nothing. Our planet was filled with animals that were faster than us, stronger than us, more deadly than us. We had no claws, no armor, no venom. By every measure, we should have died out millions of years ago. She paused, but we did not die. We survived. And do you know how? The chamber was silent, waiting. We survived through stubbornness, Hana said. Through spite. Through an absolute refusal to accept defeat. Our ancestors looked at predators that could kill them easily and said, I will not run. Our ancestors faced winters that should have frozen them and said, I will not die. Our ancestors watched their families suffer and said, I will find a way. Medical Officer Yuna stepped forward. Your species evolved to avoid pain. When you are hurt, your bodies force you to stop fighting. This makes sense. It keeps you alive. But humans are different. She showed images from the battle. Humans fighting with wounds that should have killed them. Humans continuing to attack after losing blood, breaking bones, suffering injuries that would have stopped any other species. When humans feel pain, our bodies release chemicals that make us more dangerous, Yuna said. Pain does not stop us. It makes us faster and stronger. We do not retreat when wounded. We attack harder. She looked at the council. There is a word in our language that you have no translation for. We call it spite. It means continuing to fight not because you can win, but because you refuse to let your enemy win. It means choosing pain and death over surrender. It means looking at impossible odds and smiling. Sergeant Sung-ho stepped forward. His arm was in a bandage, and dried blood was still visible on his armor. I killed 14 Dravek on that station, he said. I did it with broken fingers and a hole in my stomach. Do you know why? Because every time one of them hurt me, I got angrier. Every time they thought they had beaten me, I wanted to prove them wrong more. Corporal Sora limped forward. Her back was wrapped in bandages, but her eyes were bright. They cut me open, she said. 3 of them held me down, and the 4th raised its claw to kill me. And all I could think was, I am not dying today. Not to these things. Not like this. So I pulled one of them down and stabbed it in the eye, because that is what humans do. The aliens stared at the wounded humans with something new in their eyes. It was not pity anymore. It was not amusement. It was the beginning of understanding. Tae-woo walked toward Drekhal's platform. The Morkan High Speaker towered over him, 3 times his size, 10 times his weight. But for the first time, Drekhal did not look down at the human with contempt. You want to know the truth about humans? Tae-woo said. Here it is. We are not the strongest. We are not the fastest. We are not the best equipped for combat. But we have something that no other species has. He pointed at his own chest. We have a fire in here that cannot be put out. We have 10,000 years of fighting against impossible odds. We have ancestors who killed things that should have killed them. We have a history written in blood and survival, and stubborn refusal to die. He lowered his hand. The Dravek thought they were predators. They were wrong. They had never hunted anything that hunted back. They had never faced prey that would rather die fighting than run away. They had never met a species that gets more dangerous as you push them closer to death. Drekhal was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. and his voice was different. Quieter. More respectful. You are saying that humans fight differently than other species. No, Taewoo said. I am saying that humans do not fight like a species at all. We fight like a force of nature. Like a fire that spreads the more you try to stop it. Like water that finds a way through any wall. Like death itself, patient and unstoppable. He looked around the chamber. Every species here evolved to survive. Humans evolved to never accept defeat. There is a difference. You survive by avoiding danger. We survive by destroying it. You win by being stronger. We win by refusing to lose. The chamber was completely silent. The aliens looked at the humans with new eyes. These small, soft, fragile creatures had done what their greatest warriors could not. And now they understood why. It was not about bodies. It was about minds. It was about will. It was about a burning determination that made no logical sense, but was more powerful than any natural weapon. A Luneth delegate spoke. Her voice was soft, almost frightened. What else can you do? What other abilities have you hidden from us? Taewoo smiled. It was not a cruel smile, but it was not a kind one either. We have barely shown you anything, he said. On Earth, we have a saying, do not back a human into a corner. We did not show you what happens when humans are truly desperate. We did not show you what we become when our families are threatened, when our homes are in danger, when we have nothing left to lose. He paused. The Dravik faced 40 soldiers on a mission. They did not face humanity. Not really. If you want to see what humanity can truly do, threaten our children. Threaten our planet. Give us a reason to stop holding back. He shook his head. But I hope you never see that, because there would be nothing left of our enemies to bury. High Speaker Drekhal stood slowly. For the first time in his long life, he bowed to a creature smaller than himself. The Galactic Council grants humanity full membership in the military alliance, he announced. We were wrong about your species. We will not make that mistake again. Taewoo bowed in return. Thank you, High Speaker. We look forward to fighting beside you. As the humans turned to leave, Drekhal called out one more time. Commander. One question. Taewoo turned back. What drives you? Drekhal asked. What makes humans willing to suffer and die when there is no logical reason to continue? Taewoo thought about the question. He thought about his ancestors, fighting with sticks and stones against animals that could tear them apart. He thought about his parents, who had worked themselves to exhaustion so their children could have better lives. He thought about the 11 soldiers who had died on Korra 7, each one fighting until their last breath. Love, he said finally. And spite. We fight for the people we care about. And we fight because we refuse to let anything beat us. Those two things together make us unstoppable, he smiled. Welcome to knowing humanity, High Speaker. We have been this way for 100,000 years. And we have no intention of changing. Aft. We have been this way for 100,000 years. Aft. Then he walked out of the chamber, his soldiers following behind him. The doors closed, and the Galactic Council sat in silence, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. The weaklings of Earth were weaklings no more, and the galaxy had finally learned to fear them. 3 years had passed since the Battle of Korra 7. In that time, everything had changed. Humans were no longer laughed at. They were no longer pitied. When human soldiers walked through the corridors of Galactic Alliance stations, other species moved out of their way. Not from rudeness, from respect. But the galaxy was not at peace. Something terrible was coming. The Onreth Collective had been a legend, a story told to frighten children, a machine intelligence that had awakened somewhere in the outer rim of the galaxy and begun to spread. It did not conquer planets. It did not take prisoners. It simply consumed everything in its path, turning matter into more machines, more ships, more weapons. 7 star systems had already fallen. Billions of lives had been lost, and nothing could stop its advance. Commander Taewoo stood on the bridge of the Alliance flagship Victory. He was older now, with more gray in his hair and more scars on his body. The Council had given him command of the entire Allied fleet, 12 species, 4,000 ships, 2 million soldiers. It was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history, and everyone knew it might not be enough. The Onrith fleet has entered the system, Lieutenant Hana reported. She stood at her station, her face calm despite the fear that everyone felt. Counting over 10,000 ships. They outnumber us 3-1. Around Tewu, alien commanders watched their screens with growing worry. The Onrith ships were massive, each one covered in weapons and sensors. They moved with perfect coordination, like parts of a single terrible machine. A Morkan commander named Grath spoke up. Commander Tewu, the enemy numbers are overwhelming. Standard military practice says we should retreat and regroup. I know, Tewu said. A Velthari admiral clicked her mandibles nervously. Our models predict that we will suffer at least 30% casualties in the first hour of combat. At that point, retreat becomes necessary to preserve our forces. I know. Tewu said again. A Luneth captain raised his hand. The Onrith are machines. They calculate probability. They predict that all species retreat when losses become too heavy. Their entire strategy is based on this assumption. Tewu smiled. I know. He turned to face the assembled commanders. Human, Morkan, Velthari, Luneth, and 8 other species. All of them looking to him for guidance. All of them afraid. Let me tell you what is going to happen, Tewu said. The Onrith will attack. They will hit us hard, expecting us to fall back when our losses reach 30%. Then they will press forward, planning to destroy us piece by piece as we retreat. He paused. We are not going to retreat. The alien commanders stirred uneasily. Grath spoke first. Commander, that is suicide. No force can continue fighting after 30% casualties. The soldiers will break. They will run. Human soldiers will not run, Tewu said. And neither will any soldier under my command. Not today. He pulled up a holographic display of the battlefield. The Onrith are machines. They think in logic and probability. They have never faced an enemy that refuses to follow logic. They have never encountered a force that keeps attacking when it should retreat. He pointed at the enemy fleet. When we hit 30% casualties, we will push forward. When we hit 40%, we will accelerate. When we hit 50%, we will charge directly into their core fleet. We will do exactly what they do not expect. We will do what no logical enemy would ever do. Admiral Vex, a Luneth female with wise eyes, leaned forward. And what is that? We will show them what happens when machines face something they cannot calculate, Tewu said. We will show them spite. The alien commanders looked at each other. They had learned about human spite in the years since Korra 7. They had seen humans continue fighting when any other species would have surrendered. They had watched human soldiers drag themselves through impossible situations, on nothing but stubborn refusal to die. Slowly, one by one, they nodded. We follow your command, Grath said. May the stars protect us all. The battle began at dawn. The Onrith attacked in perfect formation, their weapons firing with terrible precision. Alliance ships exploded. Soldiers died. The first hour was exactly as the models predicted. Devastating. At 30% casualties, the Onrith paused. Their calculations told them the enemy should be retreating now. They prepared to pursue. Instead, the Alliance fleet surged forward. On the bridge of the Victory, alarm lights flashed red. Reports of damage came from every ship, but Tewu stood firm, his voice calm as he gave orders. All ships, increase speed. Close the distance. Get in among them where their big guns cannot fire without hitting their own vessels. The alien commanders followed his lead. Even through their fear, they pushed their ships forward. Human soldiers cheered on every vessel. This was what they were born for. This was the moment everything had been building toward. At 40% casualties, the Alliance was still advancing. The Onrith intelligence tried to adapt. It had never seen this behavior before. Its probability models could not explain it. Every calculation said the enemy should be broken by now, fleeing in disorder. Instead, they were attacking harder than ever. Sergeant Seung-ho commanded a boarding team on one of the Onreth ships. His soldiers fought through corridors of metal and wire, destroying everything they found. Machines tried to stop them, but the humans would not stop. "Keep moving!" Seung-ho shouted. His arm was bleeding, and one of his eyes was swollen shut. "Find their core and destroy it!" Corporal Sora led another team on a different ship. She had lost 3 soldiers already, but she pushed forward anyway. When a machine blocked her path, she threw herself at it, stabbing and shooting until it fell. "For Korra 7, she screamed. "For Earth! For everyone they killed!" At 50% casualties, the Alliance was inside the Onreth core fleet. The machine intelligence was confused. Its calculations were failing. Nothing made sense. The enemy had lost half their forces, but they were fighting harder than ever. They were laughing on open communication channels. They were singing battle songs in languages the Onreth had never heard. This was not logical. This was not possible. This was not how war worked. But this was how humans worked. Commander Taewoo stood on his bridge, watching the battle unfold. Around him, his crew fought with everything they had. The victory was damaged. Fires burned in several sections. The shields were failing. None of that mattered. "All ships," Taewoo said, his voice carrying across the fleet. "This is the moment. This is what we came for." The Onreth are confused. They do not understand us. They cannot predict us. Now is when we strike. He pointed at the largest enemy ship, the one that housed the central Onreth intelligence. "All weapons on that target. Everything we have. Do not stop firing until it is destroyed." The Alliance fleet turned as one. Thousands of weapons fired at the same target. The Onreth tried to defend, but they were too slow. Their calculations were still catching up to the impossible reality they faced. The central ship exploded, and without their coordinating intelligence, the Onreth collective collapsed. Ships drifted without direction. Weapons stopped firing. The terrible machine army that had destroyed 7 star systems fell apart in moments because the one thing holding it together was gone. The battle of the Onreth line was over. The Alliance had won. In the aftermath, the surviving soldiers counted their losses. It was terrible. More than half the fleet was destroyed. Millions had died. But the enemy was defeated. The galaxy was saved. High Speaker Drekhal visited Taewoo in the medical bay 3 days later. The commander had lost his left arm in the final assault. He was already asking the doctors when he could return to duty. Drekhal looked at the human with something that might have been wonder. "I have lived for 200 years, he said. "I have seen many battles. I have watched many species fight. I have never seen anything like what happened at the Onreth line." Taewoo smiled weakly. "We did what was necessary. You did what was impossible," Drekhal corrected. "Your ships were dying. Your soldiers were falling. Every calculation said you should retreat, and instead, you charged forward. You laughed while you were losing." He shook his massive head. "I understand now. I understand why humans are the supreme warriors of the cosmos." Taewoo raised an eyebrow. "Tell me." Drekhal sat down slowly, his huge body making the chair creak. "It is not because you are strong," he said. "It is because you are afraid, and you fight anyway. Every other species fights to survive. Humans fight knowing they might die. That is different. That is something no machine can calculate. That is something no enemy can prepare for." He looked at the human commander with deep respect. "You know you are fragile. You know you will die. And you have decided that death must earn its victory. That it must work for every single life it takes. That you will make it hurt as much as possible before you fall." Taewoo nodded slowly. "We call it the human condition. We know we are mortal. We know we are small. But we refuse to act like it. We refuse to accept our limitations. We reach for stars we can never touch. We fight enemies we can never beat. We love people we will inevitably lose." He closed his eyes. "And somehow, that makes us stronger than anything that does not understand those feelings." Drekal was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood. "The Council has decided," he said. "From this day forward, in any war the Alliance fights, human commanders will lead. Human strategy will guide us. Human soldiers will show us how to fight." He bowed deeply, lower than any Morkan had ever bowed to any other species. "You have taught the cosmos something it never knew it needed to learn. You have shown us that the greatest strength is not in bodies or weapons or numbers. It is in the heart that refuses to surrender. In the mind that chooses hope over logic. In the spirit that would rather die standing than live on its knees." Tewu opened his eyes and looked at the alien leader. "We have been fighting like this for 100,000 years," he said quietly. "From the first human who picked up a rock to throw at a predator. From the first tribe that stood against a larger enemy. From every war, and every struggle, and every moment of desperation." He smiled. "We are what happens when a species evolves without the luxury of being strong. We learn to fight smarter, to fight dirtier, to fight longer than anything else in the universe." He clenched his remaining fist. "And we have no intention of ever stopping." Drekal nodded one final time. Then he turned and left the medical bay. Outside, the stars burned cold and distant. The galaxy was at peace, at least for now. But somewhere out there, other threats waited. Other enemies watched. Other dangers lurked in the darkness between stars. And when those threats came, humanity would be ready. Because that was what humans did. They faced the darkness. They fought the impossible. They bled and suffered and died, but they never gave up. They were the supreme warriors of the cosmos. Not because they were the strongest, not because they were the fastest, not because they were the best equipped, but because they were human, and that was more than enough.